So when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I became a member of the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the SPCA. I'm not even sure how I learned about this organization. Maybe they came to the school to give a talk. But what I remember was it was $10 a year for junior membership. And at the time, I received $2 a day for pocket money, which I would use to buy food at recess or after school. And I would save a little bit every day. So I had this piggy bank. So I remember counting out the $10 and then giving it to my parents saying, please write a check and send it in with this subscription form so I can become a member. And for being a member of the SPCA, you received 4 copies of their newsletter. It was a quarterly newsletter each year. And I love this newsletter. I would just read it from cover to cover. They would show all the animals they had rescued and how, they were up for adoption. They sometimes wrote features about the terrible abuses they saw, but how they helped the animals. And they also wrote about their volunteers helping out on Saturdays to clean kennels, help to walk dogs, and of course, all their fundraising events and so on. So, I never ever visited the SPCA. I remember at that age thinking, wow, they're located at a place called Mount Vernon. It sounds really exotic. One day I will take the bus when I'm older and go there. It never happened, but it made a really strong impression on my mind. And I was thinking about this because now I help Venerable Chuni to work on the Sravasti Abbey newsletter. And there are days when putting this long newsletter together that I wonder, is anyone reading this? Last week, last week, Tracy Simmons, a professor of journalism at Gonzaga University, came to speak to some of us about social media. And she said that the average attention span of a person has become 7 seconds, which is 1 second less than a goldfish. So, when you learn about these, how consumption habits are changing and so forth, it just made me wonder, yeah, who's reading a long-form newsletter with lots of links and prose, And then I thought back to my little 10-year-old self, who was reading this SPCA newsletter cover to cover. I see Venerable Lamsel nodding because her grandmother reads our newsletter. Every single line, clicks on all the links. So somewhere out there, there are people who are benefiting from whatever positive messages we put out into the world, despite all the noise around it. And it really mattered to me as a 10-year-old to contribute to the SPCA and to know that there were adults that cared enough about animals to be kind to them, to spend time on the weekend to take care of them. Because that wasn't really a value in my family. We never had pets. Animals were kind of like, dangerous strays that might spread disease. So through the SPCA, I connected with a whole different way of looking at other beings. And I think, too, it left a strong impression on my mind because I would think it planted the seeds for me to become vegetarian eventually, before I became a Buddhist. And again, the story is kind of funny. I became vegetarian from buying a CD. I think we don't have these things anymore. Yeah? Compact discs, remember those? You used to listen to music on those round things. So by this time, I was about 17 and saving up my pocket money to buy music because I was obsessed with music. And I bought a CD by an American DJ who did dance music. His name is Moby. I had no clue about his background. His songs were just popular at the time, and I got curious. So I buy this CD, and usually in a CD, in the sleeve, the artist will put their lyrics and, like glamour shots of themselves. But this person, Moby, instead put essays about ethical issues. And he's a vegan and very committed to animal rights. So I've spent some time reading all these essays about, the fur trade, protecting the environment. And there was one article about factory farming. And I was completely shocked to read it, about the conditions animals are kept in. I think at the time you have some idea that, old MacDonald had a farm, like farms are kind of with cute animals. And so to read about factory farming, I was like, could this be true? I mean, people put animals into these little cages and they hardly get to move. And their whole life, they just eat and poop and you kill them for food. And I was outraged too also because I was a completely committed meat eater. I think I ate about 5 types of vegetables at the time. I can remember what they are. So the concept of giving up meat was shocking. So here's this essay about this person writing how cruel it is to raise animals like this, and he's promoting veganism and vegetarianism. So, it came as a huge shock to my entire way of life and all my beliefs. So at the time, we already had internet, so I looked this up, trying to see if it was really true. Maybe he's lying to us. So, but looking up pictures of factory farming and learning more about it, made it very clear to me I had to stop. So that time, just from reading that essay, I decided, let's try having one meal without meat. So, the next day I went to school. I was alone after school. Better not let anyone spot you doing these, dangerous and different things. So I bought this one meal that was just rice and vegetables. And I remember how hard it was to just get through the meal. Yeah, it was like counting every mouthful, like, are you gonna survive? Are you gonna throw up? But I got through a meal without meat. I was like, wow, this can be done. So I told myself, let's just go one meal at a time and see how it goes. Yeah, and so it's been 18 years that I've been vegetarian. I haven't died, haven't thrown up, and I'm very happy eating all kinds of vegetables now. But all that thanks to this essay in this little CD sleeve by this artiste that I, don't listen to anymore. So in reflecting on these experiences, I just wanted to say, if you happen to work for a nonprofit or you care about causes that you think no one else cares about, don't lose hope. Because I really believe that anything we do with a good, sincere, long-ranging motivation for the benefit of others will have impacts that we cannot even imagine. Yeah, that of course we're not going to see immediately, but who knew that from reading the SPCA magazine, it would transform the way I relate to animals and I would eventually become vegetarian. And from my side, when I look back, I'm so grateful I had that opportunity to connect with the SPCA in this way. I never went down to volunteer, but just the simple action of collecting savings and giving them to a cause that I believed in, that I thought was meaningful, helped myself tremendously, more so than the animals, I think. It helped me to cultivate kindness. It helped me to value just, being kind to other beings. And that's something that no amount of money can buy. And we can all do it, starting from as little as age 10 or less.